Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are unpacking something that is absolutely fascinating. We're looking at a text that's literally thousands of years old, the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. But, and this is a big but, we aren't looking at it as some dusty religious dogma or a mystical, out-of-reach scripture. Using the incredible insights of Osho, we're going to explore this ancient text for what it really is, a highly practical, surprisingly modern manual for mindfulness. If you've ever felt like meditation is just this rigid belief system, or you found yourself super frustrated trying to force your mind blank on some meditation app, well, prepare to have your perspective completely flipped. This is all about treating your very own consciousness as a science.
So, let's dive right into our roadmap for today. We'll be covering A. Science not religion. The ultimate amoral laboratory. 112 methods for everyone. Finding the breath gap. Focusing the third eye, and finally, everyday mindfulness in action.
Kicking things off with Part 1, a science, not religion. Osho points out a super fascinating difference when analyzing this text. You know how philosophy is just completely obsessed with the question, why? Like, why are we here? Why does the universe exist? It deals in theories, beliefs, and endless intellectual debates. Science, on the other hand, asks how. How exactly does the universe work? How can we actually experience reality? While the source text tells us that Tantra is strictly the science of the how, it's not handing you a belief system to just blindly follow. It's giving you practical, actionable methods. Theories? Totally useless here. Actual personal experience is literally the only thing that matters in this approach.
Now, you might often hear that this text is a dialogue between Shiva and Parvati. But in the context of this specific text, Shiva isn't some religious deity sitting on a cloud somewhere. Not at all. Shiva is actually a metaphorical symbol for ultimate consciousness, that state of having moved entirely beyond duality. And Parvati? She represents the inquiring, seeking mind. So when you really get down to it, this text is essentially a dialogue between the ultimate state of awareness and our very own questioning human mind.
And you've got to consider this brilliant analogy from Osho. He points out that because these methods were discovered by Hindus, people mistakenly assume they somehow belong exclusively to Hinduism. But honestly, that's exactly like saying the theory of relativity is Jewish just because Einstein discovered it, or that a television is Christian. Science is universal, right? And these techniques are straight up a science of human consciousness. You can be a Christian, a Muslim, an atheist, whatever. This laboratory of the mind works exactly the same for all of us.
Moving right along to Section 2, the ultimate amoral laboratory.
The source text uses this really specific term, ati-naitik, which basically translates to amoral. And that means something that totally transcends our usual categories of moral and immoral. Think about it. Traditional religions usually demand that you fix your behavior first, right? They say stop drinking, stop lying, become an absolute saint, and then you can meditate. Tantra says, yeah, that's completely backwards. You don't need to Marie Kondo your entire life before sitting down to practice. Your behavior is chaotic simply because your mind is chaotic. So even a thief or someone deeply troubled can practice these methods. The logic here is just profound. Change the foundation of your mind first and your character, it's naturally going to transform all on its own.
You really don't need a temple, you don't need a priest, and you certainly don't need blind faith. As the text dictates, you are the temple. Your own body, your own mind. That is the laboratory where this entire experiment takes place. The only thing you actually need is the courage to experiment on yourself.
All right, Section 3, 112 methods for everyone.
112. I mean, that is a massive number. The text provides exactly 112 exhaustive methods for transforming the mind. And according to the commentary, these methods cover every single possible human psychology across all past and future eras. Literally, there isn't a person alive today or who will ever live who cannot find at least one technique in these 112 that perfectly suits their specific mental makeup. It's kind of mind-blowing.
While this text is literally as old as the mountains, the commentary notes that these methods are as fresh as morning dew. They're incredibly modern because human consciousness fundamentally operates on the exact same core mechanics it always has. And the best part? You absolutely do not need to do all 112. The goal is simply to find the one single key that unlocks your specific mind.
Let's get into our first practical technique in Section 4, finding the breath gap.
Now, understanding the difference between how yoga and tantra view the breath is super crucial here, especially since we so often view yoga as just a physical workout or an attempt to optimize our bodies. Yoga often tries to regulate and systematize your breath to improve physical health and vitality. Tantra, it doesn't care about changing your breathing pattern at all.
Instead, it uses your natural, existing breath merely as a bridge, a vehicle, to turn your consciousness inward. You aren't trying to breathe in some special optimized way, you're just passively changing how deeply you observe it.
Consider the natural cycle of breathing we do all day long. The text says every inward breath is basically a rebirth, bringing life in, and every outward breath is a mini-death, releasing it. But right between the end of the inward breath and the beginning of the outward breath, there is a microscopic, hidden gap. It's a tiny, tiny fraction of a second where your breathing completely stops.
The text explains that in this tiny gap, when the breath actually stops, you are momentarily outside the world. If you bring intense, total awareness to that incredibly brief pause, the wandering mind just vanishes. The mind literally needs the continuous movement of breath to function in the world. By finding that gap and just focusing on it, a completely new dimension of inner stillness opens up.
Which brings us to Section 5, Focusing the Third Eye. This next technique uses a focal point known as Brahmajya. That's the spot located exactly between your two eyebrows. You know, what we often call the third eye in Western mindfulness circles. The instruction here is beautifully simple. Close your eyes and gently shift your inner attention, your inner gaze entirely to this center point.
The commentary explains that this specific spot actually acts like a physical magnet for your attention. If you focus there, your eyes become completely fixed and immobilized. It anchors the restless, wandering mind just effortlessly. Instead of fighting your thoughts, which we all know never works anyway, you simply hold this focal point and it pulls you deeply into a state of silent witnessing. And the ultimate result of mastering this focus is just profound. The text states that when you're perfectly centered in this third eye space, the deep clarity you achieve actually dissolves the boundary between the illusion of dreams and the reality of the waking world. You step back and observe absolutely everything. The pain, the pleasure, the racing thoughts, just as a witness, totally untangled from the everyday drama.
And finally, Section 6, Everyday Mindfulness in Action. The text really emphasizes that these techniques, whether it's finding that gap between your breaths or focusing your inner attention, they aren't meant to be done locked away in a cave. They're meant to be practiced in action. You do it while you're walking down the street. You practice it while you're eating your lunch or as you're falling asleep in bed. By doing this right amidst the chaos of activity, you prevent the mind from wavering and getting totally lost in the external world. Whether you're navigating extreme emotions like anger or love, or you're just sitting there commuting to work in morning traffic, practicing these techniques creates a permanent center of silence within you. It is all about finding that silent anchor right in the very middle of the storm of daily life, transforming your most routine actions into profound moments of meditation.
We've really only just scratched the surface with these two techniques, but there are 112 distinct methods waiting in this ancient manual. So my question to you is this: which of those 112 methods will be the key to transforming your mind, and are you finally ready to stop viewing meditation as some rigid religion and start treating it as the ultimate, immediate experiment in the laboratory of yourself?